Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about the major rally that I believe that Bitcoin is going to undertake in the month of October. I firmly believe that Bitcoin is about to have a massive breakout. That said, it has to achieve escape velocity and break out of some very important levels of resistance. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the major hurdles that Bitcoin is facing in its attempt to get back to all-time high, how Bitcoin can break through those, and of course, what the next month is going to look like. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that like button. And without much further ado, let's go ahead and dive right on into the charts. Bitcoin right now is showing a lot of strength. Over the last 3 days, we have seen a major break bullish here above our low of approximately $108,700. It is worth noting that that is a higher low than the low that we had set at the beginning of September. And since today is the last day of September, it looks like September is going to close out at roughly 5% in the green. This will make September, believe it or not, one of the most bullish Septembers that Bitcoin has ever seen. September of 2025 will be up in the top 3 most bullish Septembers that Bitcoin has ever seen. Generally, Bitcoin has a very bearish September. Bitcoin has a something called seasonality, kind of like how a farmer deals with seasonality. Winter is a little bit different than spring, is quite a bit different than summer. And so Bitcoin has different months where Bitcoin typically does very well or does very poorly. September is typically one of the worst months in the market, and this time we have seen a 5% growth, which indicates that we will likely be seeing a very bullish October. People in the cryptocurrency space call October Uptober because in general, Bitcoin rallies over 20% in the month of October. If that were to happen once again this time, then we would likely be seeing a rally upwards of $135,000 if Bitcoin just did what it does on average. So we have a lot of reasons that we've talked about in previous content as to why we believe Bitcoin is going to have a very strong Q4. I'll quickly run through a few of them and just to justify why we think Bitcoin's going up. And then we're going to talk about the meat and potatoes of today's video, which is the actual path that Bitcoin is going to take to get up to and above $130,000. Now, the reason that we're so bullish, number one, we have a moonshot M2 money supply. This is basically all of the money in the world. Bitcoin tracks very closely with it. It gives Bitcoin's fair market price at approximately $200,000 per coin, if not even higher right now. On top of that, we have a gold rally that is absolutely exploding. Gold's probably going to hit $4,000 to $4,200 per ounce very, very soon. And as it approaches that level, that is going to mean that gold will likely have to stall at least for a little while to retrace its RSI. That means that all of the inflows that were going into gold are going to need somewhere to go because people didn't just all of a sudden start trusting fiat currencies again. And so that's most likely going to pour over into Bitcoin. On top of that, we also had a 25 basis point rate cut come to the effective federal funds rate last 2 weeks ago. And now it looks like we're going to have 4 more in the next 6 months. This is extremely bullish for Bitcoin because it means that capital is going to get cheaper, which will lead to all risk on markets, including Bitcoin growing extremely quickly. On top of that, we also have the 4-year halving cycle stating that Q4 of 2025 should be an exceptionally bullish quarter. And of course, we also have a moonshotting stock market. We have a crashing Dixie. We have treasury rates that are becoming sticky. They're very difficult to get under control. We have a general crisis of confidence in fiat currencies. All of these different components give Bitcoin, in my opinion, even currently a fair market value well above $200,000. So a major rally is around the corner for all of these reasons and honestly many, many more. But what I want to talk about today is how we're going to get there, because there is one major Achilles heel to Bitcoin's rally right now, and that would be the fact that a lot of this rally took place over the weekend, which sounds great and all until you realize that that means that we set a major CME futures gap right here between 111 and 111.5. This $500 tall CME futures gap doesn't seem like a big deal, but generally speaking, CME futures gaps get filled. The last time that we had a CME futures gap that didn't get filled was a CME futures gap back here around $92,000 that never got filled. But the thing you have to understand about that CME futures gap is that Bitcoin was in the very middle of an extremely powerful impulse move to the upside where Bitcoin would gain $38,000, 51% of value in 44 days. Okay, so when we left that CME futures gap right there in the middle, we had a very strong impulse to the upside. Bitcoin does not yet have that, and so that increases the concern about this CME futures gap being filled. And so that's something that we have to keep in mind when we're doing our short-term analysis about how Bitcoin gets back to all-time high, is that there might need to be a liquidity grab to drop back down there, liquidate some of those long positions where people put their stop losses or even their liquidation prices right there in the middle of that CME futures gap or right below it, which means it is possible that Bitcoin will have to revisit back down to that level. Now, it's interesting that we say that because Bitcoin is currently forming a symmetrical triangle pattern, and if that symmetrical triangle pattern plays out, a drop in the short term back down to 107 to 108 is very much in the realm of possibility. If we just kind of look here at this, let's just go ahead and delete everything that is not what we're talking about for just a second, and we'll bring it back. You can see that Bitcoin currently finds itself in this sort of symmetrical triangle pattern, and we almost hit the top last night. We didn't quite get there, but we basically did. So it's possible that we have another back test down, and then at that point in time, we would see the breakout here, maybe towards the first week or to a week and a half into October. That would fill the CME futures gap, and it would also present an incredible long entry, which is something that we already had on the chart that we'll bring back here. We have this long entry right here, where if Bitcoin did drop back down to fill the CME futures gap, excellent long entry price. All you have to do is put your liquidation price, or better yet, your stop loss, down here around 106, and then you just hold this till all-time high. As you can see here, this is roughly a 6x risk to reward ratio, 5.7x risk to reward ratio. And this is the kind of trade that I would be looking at doing if we did fall back down there and fill the CME futures gap, because most likely if we drop back down to fill the CME futures gap, it will be a short-lived drop that will almost certainly lead us into a major bounce that will lead us higher from there. Now, another thing I want to talk about that is bullish on the short term is the fact that Bitcoin did manage to get above the 20 daily exponential moving average. However, we are at the current time of recording this at 10:10 a.m. on September the 30th, 2025, coming back to backtest that 20 daily exponential moving average. If this does not hold, then that would indicate a short-term capitulation to once again create a liquidity grab. And what I mean by liquidity grab is basically what's already been happening. A lot of people have gone into much more aggressive long trades than they should have, putting their liquidation price right below the price of Bitcoin. And so that's where you're seeing a lot of this choppy sideways volatility as Bitcoin is trying to break free and, as I used the term earlier, achieve escape velocity. We haven't gotten there yet, right? The bears are having a field day liquidating people that are going into over-leveraged longs. If you're going to go into a long right now, you need to keep that liquidation price, and again, better yet, your stop loss down here at 106 or even lower, because we are simply not in a very bullish market right now just yet where you can go into a 50x long trade with no liquidation price on it and just go naked and expect to do very well. You're going to get liquidated. And so all this chop right here is basically the market's way of knocking out bulls that are overly bullish. They're going into 50x, 70x, 100x long trades that they should not be going into. They should be doing lower leverage long trades or simply just spot trades, buying and adding to their investment account. The reason for that is because we see the exact same thing happen over and over. We saw several tens of million, actually over $100 million of longs get liquidated just this morning when we saw this massive liquidity grab. Last night, we saw Bitcoin up at $115,000. We dropped all the way back down to $112,500 because a bunch of people got overly bullish, entered into high leverage longs before we had full breakout confirmation of that downtrend, and all of those longs got liquidated. As you can see right here, all of these longs got liquidated. This liquidity sweep has already knocked out a lot of the leverage longs, but not all of them. There's still quite a bit down here, and people are going to do the exact same thing, going into high leverage longs with a liquidation price that's a 0.5% lower than the spot price of Bitcoin, and it's going to lead to these kind of liquidity sweeps where Bitcoin just drops and knocks them out. I mean, you have 5 million here on this 15-minute interval, 6 million here, 11 million, 7 million. If you look at the 12-hour chart over just the last 12 to 24 hours, you've seen almost 100 million, actually over $100 million of longs getting liquidated because people are going into long trades too early. And so that's really what we're dealing with right now, are inexperienced traders going into long trades right here instead of waiting for the breakout above this downtrend, instead of waiting for the breakout above the 0.618 Fibonacci to go into higher leverage, longer term longs. Instead, they're doing that before they have a correct confirmation. They're not optimizing their entry prices. They're not using stop losses, and so they're getting liquidated, and that's where a lot of the sell side pressure is coming from. Now, the good news is, since a lot of the sell side pressure, in my opinion, is coming from people getting liquidated rather than people actually selling, I think that means that we are getting ready for a major breakout. We just need all of the noobs to get liquidated so that the experienced traders can actually add fuel to the fire of this bullish movement and not get liquidated, which, as you will well know, if you get liquidated, that is actually just a forced sell. So someone who was a bull is being forced into being a bear because they are having to sell the position to cover the debt that they borrowed from the exchange to enter into a leverage trade in the first place. And so as Bitcoin is able to do certain things, such as knock out some of these liquidity zones, such as fill the CME futures gap, such as continue to build support above 112,000, listen, that's where eventually you're going to start to see those higher lows and those higher highs form. And that's where you start to see Bitcoin go parabolic, moving on into the month of October. And that's why I'm still very confident that October is going to be very bullish, because we have a little bit of momentum here. We had a very strong downtrending market here, and then we got a little bit of momentum. We ended up getting a higher low, whereas before we made a lower low, right? Now we made a higher low. Now we just need to make a higher low, significantly higher, maybe up here at 113, 114, break up to 120, drop back down to 114, and then we can start continuing on parabolic up there. It's just going to take a little bit of time for Bitcoin to get up into that territory. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think that we're going to have an extremely bullish October, but Bitcoin needs to knock out some of these noob traders that are entering into long trades a little bit too early, a little bit too aggressively, with a little bit too tight a stop loss, with a little bit too high of a liquidation price. We need to wait for them to get knocked out. We need to allow people to have more consistent buying pressure, allow us to set some higher highs and higher lows, and continue to establish a stronger uptrend, which is what we're doing. We just need to continue on this path. We need to continue on this path, and Bitcoin will be significantly higher in 2 to 3 weeks than it is right now. We just have to be patient. And so for you, a couple of pieces of advice. Number one, if you're an investor in Bitcoin, don't get scared right now. The fact that Bitcoin is in chop does not mean that Bitcoin is about to go into a bear market. It just means that Bitcoin is cycling. When Bitcoin is going through these major rallies, when you get up towards all-time high, because believe it or not, we're still very close to all-time high. When you're up near all-time high, people start doing stupid things like entering into 100x long trades with no plan. And so that causes there to be more sell-side pressure than there really should be. It's not that people are bearish on the market, it's that people are being dumb and getting liquidated. And so we have to have this sideways chop so that we can build a stronger foundation from which Bitcoin can break out. Bitcoin is building a year-long foundation here between 90 to 120, because we're probably about to go to 150 to 180, and we need a foundation for that next move up. So if you're a long-term investor or trader or hodler like I am, don't get scared here. This is exactly the way that it's supposed to be. I've been watching this market every single day for over 8 years now. This channel is going to be turning 8 years old in about a month and a half. I've been doing analysis on the Bitcoin market every single day for the better part of a decade. Over half of the existence of Bitcoin's history, I have seen it all. I've seen all of it, and this is not something that is scary to me whatsoever. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing, if you are a trader, there is a place for high leverage, but there's also a place for low leverage. And something that traders do that screws them over is that they end up going into a high leverage trade when it's actually time for a low leverage trade. And that's what's happening right now. People are going into 100x leverage trades, which means they have a 1% liquidation price, and they're getting wiped. They're losing that entire position. And the reason that they're doing that is because Bitcoin is not flying. The time for a 100x trade is when you've got a level of resistance that's a big even, call it 100,000, and it's sat there for a year, and then you break it, and you moonshot $5,000 in an hour. Forget an hour, in a minute. That's the time for a 100x trade. Right now is not the time for a 100x leverage trade. If you're in a trade, you're looking at lower leverage because we have less bullishness. And so since we have less bullishness, we have less confidence, then you need more room on the downside. So if you're a trader, please be very careful with high leverage, especially in ranging markets. Ranging markets don't seem dangerous because they're not if you're an investor and you're in spot, but when you're on leverage, they're extremely dangerous because just this sideways trading can cause you to get knocked out and lose your position. So that's my counsel for you as an investor. That's my counsel for you as a trader, is use proper risk management to make sure that you're not losing money when the market's just trading sideways. Best thing to do is to sit on your hands, wait for a confirmed breakout, use your technical analysis to get a good setup, and then take advantage of it from there. But one thing I don't want to happen is for people to take advantage of you. And so that's why today's video is also brought to you in part by StampSeed. If you guys have not already, make sure to check out the link down below. Use coupon code JEB15 to get 15% off on StampSeed. Get your seed phrases stamped into titanium. Almost impossible to detect with a metal detector. These are fire resistant. If your house burns down, your seeds will still be safe. So make sure that you check them out down below. Now, last couple of things I want to talk about here is under what circumstances would I be going into a trade? If we drop back down here to fill the CME futures gap, I probably would enter into a long trade here, maybe 10 to 30x, somewhere in there, with a stop loss down here around 107, right? See, that's a 2% movement. So I would probably keep that below 15x because I don't want more than a 30% risk on that trade. But if it was 15x trade, for example, and we moved up here, that'd be went back to all-time high. That'd be, I'm risking losing 30% to gain you know, 145%. So not a bad risk to reward ratio there. That's what I'm looking at doing. On the other hand, if Bitcoin breaks this downtrend, then that's where I might enter into a higher leverage, much tighter stop loss trade. So you really got to time the entry perfectly. And then we put an exit right here. That's another trade I'd be looking for. On top of that, if we break through the 0.618 and we rally back up to all-time high, this is a trade I'd be looking at right here to right here. But short of one of those three events taking place on the hour to 4 hourly chart, I would really just give yourself some time to let the market figure out what it's doing, because you don't want to get caught entering into a trade in a ranging market and just getting liquidated, because you can lose your entire position very, very easily like that, and I don't want that to happen to you. If you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that like button. And before I go, I want to let you know about one of our new sponsors that I'm very excited about. Their name is iTrust If you guys have not already signed up for iTrust, you are missing out. Okay, the reason, before you click off, the reason that you sign up for iTrust is because you want to pay Uncle Sam as little as possible. Okay, I think we can all agree that we don't like giving money to Uncle Sam. He's the weird, creepy uncle. He smells bad. He like breathes down your neck. He's really weird. We don't want to give him more money than we need to. I don't like giving Uncle Sam money. You don't like giving Uncle Sam money. I think he's pretty bad at spending it. He's not a very good steward of it. I want to avoid taxes as much as I possibly can legally, which is why every single year on January the 1st, the first day of the year, I max out my Roth IRA. Every single year. Max out my Roth IRA day one. $7,000 day one. I max out my Roth IRA. The reason for that is because it is a tax advantage retirement account. If you want to be an investor, you should always max out 401k with a match first, Roth IRA second. And the reason for that is because you get to avoid paying taxes. With a Roth IRA, you invest with post-tax money and you don't have to pay taxes on the withdrawals. On the other hand, if you're, as we're becoming and having a gigantic income, then you might want to go the traditional IRA route where you're like, man, my tax bracket, I'm like way up here. You can actually, if you use an IRA, traditional IRA, deduct the amount that you invested through that vehicle from your taxes. That's incredible. You get a $7,000 deduction. So these are tax advantage retirement accounts. They're very important to use them first. Before you just go buy on Coinbase and throw it in your cold storage wallet, you want to use these IRA vehicles, even just for the sake of diversification, because you get to avoid taxes with them legally. The tax code was written to be played. You should play it. Use the IRA. And so the reason iTrust Capital is so important is because it combines two of the best things in the world. It combines Bitcoin, which is the best investment, with IRAs and 401ks, which are the best investment vehicles. And so iTrust Capital is just a match made in heaven because you combine the best investments, cryptocurrency assets, with the best investment accounts, which are the IRAs, traditional and Roth, and 401ks. If you have not already signed up for iTrust Capital, you are missing out because they are the premier. They're the only company in the space that you should trust to handle your IRA where you can invest directly into Bitcoin. I'm not talking about your IRA over on Fidelity where you can buy the spot ETFs. No, I'm talking about you can buy Bitcoin itself. You can buy actual Bitcoin, not the ETF, actual Bitcoin in your IRA with iTrust Capital. If you have not already signed up, it is a no-brainer. You need to do this. Sign up for iTrust Capital with the link in the description box down below. There will be tutorial videos coming. We're going to be doing some interviews with their team. Big, long-term fan of iTrust Capital. We've worked with them for many, many years. Highly recommend them. If you have not already, make sure to sign up. By the way, one last thing I want to mention here, just as a customer myself of iTrust Capital, yesterday, you know, I'm a customer of iTrust Capital. I got a text message. Let me see if I can find it here. I got a text message that said, iTrust Capital message. Hi, Jared. This is Trent from iTrust Capital. Do you have any questions about your newly opened IRA? I opened another one. Reply to this text and let us know. We're happy to help. I said, thank you, Trent. I don't think so right now, but I'll definitely let you know if that changes. Much appreciated. He said, sounds good. So just as a customer, not even as someone who's helping with marketing, but as a customer, they are willing to reach out to me and ask me what I need. That's because all of their customer service is in Irvine, California, not overseas. You can understand them. They're all right here in the United States, speak great English, and you can get on the phone with a real human being to talk about your IRA. That is incredible. I hate to say it, but there's a lot of companies in the crypto space that you cannot say that about. It is virtually impossible to get on the phone with a real person, talk to them. iTrust Capital is where it's at. It's obvious. It's the industry standard. If you haven't already signed up today. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in. And before I go, I do just first want to let each and every single last one of you know that I love you. And before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.